So today I want to talk about something very interesting that has happened to me over the last, 9 months. Basically, about 9 months ago, a scar of 3 dots appeared on the back of my right shoulder from nowhere. There was nothing that I had done that I could remember hitting it or harming it, but these 3 dots were on the back of my shoulder, and they sort of looked quite symmetrical, almost like they couldn't be an injury. And over the last 9 months, I've just had a lot of intuitions and synchronicities that have led me to some insights about this scar. So at one point, I realized that the 3 dots of the scar were actually aligned perfectly to the constellation of Orion, the Orion's belt. And I actually had my husband take a photo of the scar, and I had been watching a video about how the pyramids of Giza and the pyramids at Teotihuacan in Mexico were aligned with the Orion belt. And I had my husband take a photo and found that my scar was exactly aligned to the constellation and to the pyramids, which I found quite interesting. So on the road of research into Orion, why were the pyramids aligned to Orion? There are some theories that it's because Orion is the source of all knowledge, and that by being in that pyramid structure that they could actually bring back the knowledge that was found in Orion. And the constellation of Orion is also the warrior archetype. So it's the hunter, and it's very strong connotations for being a warrior. And interestingly, if you have a look at the Orion Starseed information, the Orion beings that originate from Orion are supposedly very much focused on service to self. Now, when I first heard this, I actually reacted to it quite strongly, because I didn't really see myself as being service to self, and it kind of took me off the path a little bit. And then more recently, I started having some insights into service to self and service to others that I think are really interesting. And like anything, it's not so much about the thing, but about the frequency behind it. So, when we think of service to self, we think that it's quite negative. It's about narcissism or putting yourself first. And we see that a lot of the, perhaps the current leaders, the current New World Order are very much focused on service to self. But on the flip side, service to others can also have a negative connotation. Service to others can be people-pleasing. It can be putting others above the self. It can be a distraction from, feelings of self-loathing. So really, both service to self and service to others, when in a lower vibration, are actually pretty much the same. They balance each other out. So then I was thinking about the positive, the higher vibrations of service to others and service to self, and realizing that, like everything, they are perfectly balancing the yin and the yang of what is needed in terms of service for this ascension. So thinking about service to self and the warrior archetype. So if we look at the warrior archetype from a negative perspective or a lower vibration, then basically we're talking about war. It's about being at war against something outside of us. We're projecting it out, and we're always fighting against that thing. But when taken at a higher vibration, that warrior frequency becomes an inside battle. Like it's the battle against the mind. And I relate very strongly to that. And I can see that having that internal struggle and finding the way to have control of your mind instead of mind control from an outside source is actually vital to what's needed at the moment. The battle against fear that we see all around us in the world right now. You can't battle against fear and learn to control your mind unless you're focused on the self, which is service to self. If you're focusing on the other, then if you don't have the vibration of transcending fear within yourself, then you can't give that to somebody else. So I believe that there are many of us who have come here to be those internal warriors that are here to transcend and overcome these emotions and thoughts and beliefs that have become such a program part of this reality, and we've come here to actually overcome it. And I think that's what the whole Orion Starseed service to self thing is all about. It's like we have an important role to play in this, and it's about transcending fear, and it's about transcending limiting beliefs that are being given to us. And when we think about fear, it's not just about being courageous, because courage is not the absence of fear. It's not about doing stupid things. It's not about fighting battles and fighting, riots or anything like that. It's about fighting the thoughts as they come up in our mind and switching them to what I believe is the opposite of fear, which is faith and surrender. At the end of the day, if there's a group of us who are serving others from a higher place, and there's a group of us who are serving self from a higher place, we're all working on increasing the frequency. And at the end of the day, self and others doesn't even exist, because we're all one. So we've all come here to play our role, depending on our skills and the star systems we've come from, the archetypes that we represent. And I just think that that's really empowering, and it's a different way of looking at service to self, because, Law of One, the raw material, pretty much focused on service to self as being a very negative thing. But you know what? I actually see it as a really positive thing. Even if you just take the idea of self-love as an example, how can you find self-love if you are not serving yourself in some way? How can you love another fully and serve another fully if you haven't been through service to self and found that within yourself? And I think this service to self is also sometimes a very isolated or introverted role that we play. It's almost like, are we really doing anything? But I can see personally in my own life, by overcoming my own battles against fear, which is something that I've just been drawn to do my whole life, is that my life has changed dramatically. I see a peaceful world outside me. I see more peace, more love, more beauty, more joy in the world around me from having fought these battles and found peace in my own mind. So I can see how the work that I'm doing is actually affecting the frequency of the outside world in the proof and the feedback around me in my life. I hope that helps some others who may have gone down that road, who relate to Orion as a star system, who perhaps relate to being a warrior, and perhaps who relate to being here to face fears. That certainly helped me. Thanks very much for listening.